Ever cried because you got lost at the city fair? As a kid, it must have been an unfortunate incident for anyone to get lost somewhere. The amount of relief we get when someone helps us to find our parents is really unexplainable. Can someone always help us when we get lost? What if we get lost in space? Can someone help us? What would happen to us if we got lost in space? Would we be able to hitch a ride with the aliens surfing through space? We've all got a million questions right now, and we are going to get all the answers in this video. So, let's dive in. We must agree that there is something immensely captivating and mysterious about space. Since the first time humanity gazed up at the stars hundreds of years ago, space has fascinated people. However, because it is not only beautiful but also hostile and sometimes fatal to humans, space can also be scary. One of the worst things that could happen to a human is getting lost in space. How could an astronaut get lost in space? Being pulled by space debris is one of the most terrible ways to become lost in space. The orbit of the Earth is covered in fragments and spacecraft trash. We can suffer a fatal injury or possibly die if we are caught in one of these. The worst thing that can happen is to be thrown off your cable and away from the space station. A sudden suit malfunction is another serious accident that might occur when we are outside the space station. The purpose of spacesuits is only to provide additional protection. They are not always successful. If even a little thing had penetrated the astronaut's suit, it would be all but game over. Luca Parmitano was one of the most well-known examples of a suit malfunction. His suit's internal cooling system began to leak water. Water reached his face, impairing his ability to see and control the air around him. Parmitano was swiftly escorted back into the space station. He had to use his memories to make his way inside. Fortunately, despite being in that dangerous circumstance, he was not lost in space. Last but not least, if their safety cords break or become entangled in something, astronauts may get lost in space. What would happen if an astronaut got lost in space? Getting lost in space is a worse fate than getting burned in the Earth's atmosphere. We will only have 7.5 hours at most before our oxygen runs out, to start with. Second, if we lose connection while leaving Earth, there is a good chance we won't be able to change our course and return. Third, our spacesuit solely contains water. Last but not least, we will be more vulnerable to suit malfunction. We'll probably go without food for 7.5 hours before we die due to lack of oxygen. Are there any astronauts lost in space? Fortunately, there have never been any astronauts who drifted away and perished in space. In such a case, the astronaut can approach the space station by using his jetpack device. However, if the astronaut flew to Earth on its own or ran out of gas before reaching safety, there could be no chance. NASA's strict guidelines, such as teamwork and using a metal cable, have also kept astronauts from becoming lost in space. However, in 1973, 2 US astronauts came very near to meeting this fate. Can an astronaut lost in space be helped? As of now, NASA and other space agencies can't deploy emergency vehicles in space. So, lost astronauts can't expect a rescue like Matt Damon from The Martian. Keep this in mind: don't get lost in space. You may not return in time for dinner or not return at all.